This just in, the body of a transgender woman has been found in the alley on Orange Blossom Trail in Church Street.
Lord God, no, no! People with mental illness, various racial and ethnic groups, and gay and lesbian individuals. Gay individual civil rights versus civil rights, and same-gender marriages.
Listen, I know that saying he is not gay friendly. He's gonna lose it.
Hello and welcome to Affirming Love Podcast, where we are acknowledging, announcing, confirming, encouraging, and upholding love for LGBTQ plus individuals and allies. I am your host, Laverne Simpson, and today we are acknowledging a 33-year-old Orlando, Florida native. He is a member of the queer and interfaith communities and seeks to bring them together through the arts and social activism. Help me to welcome today Mr. Jacob Eddy from Orlando, Florida. Welcome, Jacob.
Hello. Hi. Hey, how's it going?
It is well. It is well. It's such a pleasure to see you. It has been such a long time, and I'm just so grateful for you coming on today and interviewing with us.
Yes,
so, announce yourself. Tell us about yourself.
So my name is Jacob. As Laverne said, I have been in Orlando all my life.
So when it comes to your personal coming out of the closet, can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was for you coming out to your family?
Well, unfortunately, mine was more so me being outed.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and that did lead to some tumultuous time between my family and I, and a lot of me just having to understand who I was as a person, and realizing towards the end, after what was almost just about 10 years, realizing towards the end that there was nothing that was actually separating me from God. He doesn't care about my identity, my orientation. He's the one who afforded me that opportunity. And the more that I continued exploring this aspect of myself, the more that I realized that the reason why I know that every orientation is one that comes from divine is because of the fact that when you have someone in your life who goes against the binary rules or the norms and whatever else of society that has already been laid out before you, that is your opportunity to choose to love that person anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is the same thing when it comes to God. He, I believe, is a being of love, and therefore he will put people in our path who are going to be different from us, because it's easy to love someone who's exactly like you, believes exactly like you, talks exactly like you.
Right.
But when you're dealing with someone who is different, who is foreign to you, suddenly now you have to really seek to understand, because it's easy enough to turn around and just say, oh, well, then whatever they do is just bad and wrong and I'm right and that's it. That shuts everything down. But when you say, oh, well, what has this person learned? What do they believe? What values do we both hold? And what are we both trying to do together? That is something completely different. And I feel like that is exactly what every person of the queer community can take with them. And whether that be queer by American standards, by Asian standards, by African standards, whatever standards, the point is that we are the first line of defense when it comes to teaching people how to love people from every aspect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think us as a queer community, it is just a whole different learning, like you said, aspect for the world. Although they want to set us apart, we are a very big essential part of life and the world and difference, and people being different and being allowed to be who they were created to be. And so when we're able to reach deep into ourselves and say, no, but this is who I am, and I'm still that same person that you've loved, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still that same person that you raised, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I've not changed. You just know something different about me that you probably already knew and didn't want to accept, or
Yes.
something different about me that now I'm allowing you to learn about me, because it's time for me to live for me.
Mm-hmm.
So over the years of you coming out, has that changed your family dynamic? Your family and friends, did you lose friends or anything like that when you came out? How has it been since you've come out?
Since my official coming out, living my truth and everything else, since that real day that I got to truly do it, honestly, I hadn't lost anything that wasn't already gone,
Okay.
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I was already living on my own, working with a completely different set of people who were all very affirming and very loving. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of the people who I thought were my be all end all at church, I had already been gone from that church for like 2 years for other reasons, mostly just because I moved on. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
everything that I was afraid of losing, I ended up not losing in the first place, or it was things that were already gone in the first place. So why even worry? And
Mm-hmm.
when I finally was able to take control of my narrative and tell
Mm-hmm.
my father about my queerness and truly come out as opposed to being outed, um,
Mm-hmm.
at that point he was just kind of like, you know what? I just want you to be happy.
Awesome.
And so
That's
it was a very different dynamic from what it was initially, and I was very grateful for that.
that's awesome. And you said you were outed, so somebody else came and spilled the beans on you. And you
Yes.
had that opportunity to express that yourself. Tell me what that was like for you. What did you feel? And you know,
So it was actually my sister.
oh wow.
Yes, and she had found out, and then she basically told my parents, and then it led to a very interesting time for about a few months to about a year or so. And just there were a lot of sides to my family that I witnessed firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
Did not love all of them. I did not love all the sides that I got to witness,
Mm-hmm.
but it did make me understand who I wanted to be as a person.
Okay.
What I can say is that it did prompt me to have more empathy towards others.
Okay.
Because, I was amongst many of the other people in the old school conservative type church environment where it's like, yeah, hang them all and don't let them have rights.
Crucify him, crucify him.
Yes. But because of my personal experiences, it really did teach me the do unto others was much more of a double-edged sword than I realized.
Mm-mm.
Because I'm sitting here like, okay, so now that I'm on the other side of this, I don't want people taking my life or my rights or anything else.
Right.
I don't
Right.
want any of the things to happen to me that I was sitting there saying should happen to them. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I'm not some, demon possessed, devil worshiping person like what they keep thinking or telling us that these people are, because
Right.
I'm in the midst of it too. And
Right.
none of that is happening. And
Mm-hmm.
so now, having been on the other side, I realize that none of that we are taught, especially in those types of environments, is real. All of that really tells us is this person who's telling you that kind of stuff doesn't actually know anyone from the community that they are demonizing. And because they don't know anyone from it, they
Mm-hmm.
can demonize it. Because
Absolutely.
the second that you actually know people, the second that you actually talk to people and have them in your life personally,
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes so much harder to treat them as subhuman. And I feel like
Absolutely.
that's exactly why biblically, it tells you to welcome the foreigner and to, love your
Mm-hmm.
neighbor and to help each other and
Mm-hmm.
all this different kind of stuff. Because the
Mm-hmm.
point of it is supposed to be unity. The point of it is to say,
Yes.
hey, now that you know this person, do you still want to stand by those hateful things that you said? Or even so,
Mhm.
now that you are this person, do you want
Mhm.
those things done to you like you said they should be doing? And
Mhm.
the answer is no.
No. No, not at all. It definitely makes you think about that unconditional love that
Mm-hmm.
we've been raised to believe that we have and that we should seek and that we should have for one another is that unconditional love. Did your
Mm-hmm.
sister ever say anything to you about it before outing you, or what was it like after she outed
No.
you? What was your relationship with your sister like?
She was 10 years old at the time, and she was not trying to do
Um,
anything malicious. She
okay.
just didn't understand what was going on. And so she was
Okay.
like, let me go talk to mom and dad about it. What's happening here?
Wow.
So I never held any ill will towards her about it or anything.
That's good.
Because especially given at that point in time, I was only 13. So I was still very much so involved in church and very much so believing that I was in the wrong for everything. So I didn't
Okay.
even have the frame of mind to turn around and be like, I can't believe that she did this to me. Like all of that was all
Mhm.
still very much so, I'm bad, I'm wrong, and I need to get fixed. So,
That's what you were feeling at the time at 13.
mhm,
I can understand that. I mean, because you were rather young at that time when all of this
yes.
happened as well, and she was young. So you guys were really like in a learning atmosphere for
Hmm.
life itself as well, as her just getting into her double digits, you being a young teenager at the time,
Hmm.
still battling with the things that you were feeling, right?
Yes.
Still trying to, being raised in the church and battling with your sexuality and what you were feeling versus what they were teaching in church at the same time. So definitely, of all people that get it, I get it, right?
Hmm.
So, what would you say was your confirmation? When did you know that who you are was who you are and it was okay to be who you are?
So it was a twofold experience.
Mm,
There was a person in my life who I was very interested in, very attracted to, felt a great connection to. And I could always sense that he was definitely someone who was bisexual,
mhm,
but for whatever reason, he stayed with heterosexual relationships. And I figured if I just stick around long enough, at one point he'll finally notice that I am here for him, and all the things will finally fall into place.
mhm, mhm.
That didn't happen. And after about two or three girlfriends of his, I realized I'm like, okay, this is not happening. But also I
You
need,
missing it, dude.
yeah. I'm like, but I'm also sitting here like, I need to move on. And if he really wants to find a way to make it work with a girlfriend and make her his wife, then I need to let him do that. And I need to stop putting like getting mad at him for not requiting my feelings when he never made any attempt at any of that in the first place.
Okay.
Like he never sent the message of, oh, if you just wait a little bit longer, then it'll just be you and me. He never did
Mhm.
that. So I'm sitting
Okay.
here like, I need to be real about this. So
Mhm.
I talked to one of my other friends about it, and he was like, if anything, that's a deeper and real love because that's selfless for you to turn around and just say, you know what, forget it. He wants something different, and I have to respect that.
Wow.
So that happened. And then we fast forward to a few more months, and it was kind of reconfirmed to me because I was talking to one of my youth leaders at the time. I was in college, in Bible
Mhm.
college actually, and I was talking to one of my youth leaders at the time during that point, and he was just like, Jacob, you probably could love him better, especially because he was now in his like third failed relationship. And he's like, you probably could love him better, but it would be wrong.
Mm.
And my brain couldn't wrap around it because I'm just like, okay, so you're telling me right now that a mutual, loving homosexual relationship with someone who actually is there for you, you're telling me that two gay people who are affirming one another, consensually together, respecting one another and everything else, and loving each other, and could be going to church, doing all the things that the church tells you to do and all this stuff. And just the fact that they happen to be openly gay is somehow a worse relationship than this person who is going from person to person to person, possibly like doesn't know if he's got babies running around, doesn't, blah, blah, blah. And as long as it's heterosexual, somehow that's inherently better. So you're telling me that that's
Make it make sense.
So that's when I finally was just kind of done. I knew I had to get through Bible college. And it was really more of like a 1-year seminary, like intensive internship. I knew I had to get through that. And then I figured that I would branch out, go find someplace else to be. And then it was after I went to a church in Savannah where I was certain that if they could just see me and see how I responded to everything else, that they would be willing to welcome me into the fold and give me a job. And that also didn't happen.
Oh, wow.
They said, yeah, we're not just going to hire some random person off the street. And I was like, okay. I mean, nowadays I get it, but also at that point I'm like, random, but God sent me here.
Right.
And so it was so many. So those little bits and pieces all led up to what came to the final situation, which I had to give a sermon as part of my as part of my Bible college, like finishing for the year. And in the sermon, I was, talking very real, and I was like, yes. And sometimes I even, still have to deal with, homosexual thoughts and everything else. Like that's part of my testimony. Thinking that I'm being vulnerable, I'm being real, and they will honor that because, I'm letting the youth of this church know that, that God is still here for you no matter what, and God is still good. And then I got called into the pastor's office.
Oh my.
And all they heard was, listen, so are you telling us that you are still having homosexual feelings, or that you're past it? Because we're receiving phone calls. Plural. Phone calls, plural.
Calls.
And I'm like, so I'm sitting here like, so when I'm honest, I'm chastised. After all of these experiences, especially with how things are going with the church and with people and everything else, I learned that hiding my truth wasn't helping me. Hiding myself was not going to do anything but continue to have people look at me sideways. And the entire time that I was at that particular church, finishing my Bible college studies, there were so many people who kept side-eyeing me because they're like, something's just not. Like, I knew that other people knew, and I knew that me pretending like things were done and over with wasn't helping me. And I knew that if I was going to be a part of anything, whether it be ministry, the arts, even freaking serving snow cones on the side of the road, that I needed to do it authentically.
Yes.
And so those different experiences pushed me into realizing that my most powerful weapon, my most powerful thing about me is my authenticity. And that is what has led me to where I am today, which is about to produce a new show.
Awesome. Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so you felt that moment that this is it. This confirmed it. That situation showed me that I need to be authentic with myself. I need to be truthful. I need to be who I was created to be, because that's what. So the book that I wrote is called Just Be You, Baby, God and You, GAY.
Yes.
Come on. Against All Odds. You can find that
Yes.
on Amazon. It is my coming out story, but it also motivates or inspires to be who God created you to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as we're growing up, we're being trained, we're being taught, we're learning the things that society and our family and our faith community wants us to know. And we're led against those things that God created us to be within. Those things that we really know within our own spirits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because according to the word that they teach us, He knew us before we were formed in our mother's wombs, right? Our lives have been written in the books of life, so we're already predestined. But life and society and family and faith communities can take us off the track of
Mm-hmm.
where we were actually created to be before we got into flesh, and then we have to come back and find, who are you? Like, who
Mm-hmm.
were you created to be, to the root of you? And we can't get past that.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much we try, we are who we were created to be. And we're taught that that's the creator, right? So,
Yes.
you know, and we have to get back to that. And I think it's very important that, just as you said, we be our authentic selves so that people can know who God created us to be, not just what society and faith communities and our families want us to be. So, if you could encourage our viewers and our listeners in any way, what would you say to encourage them today?
To all the listeners, I would tell you what my personal motto has been for a few years now, which is shatter convention, break rules, and have
Mhm.
fun. We are meant to be beings of joy. We are not inherently evil. We're not inherently sinful. We're not inherently deserving of punishment and death. God put us on this earth to experience it, love it, take care of it, and to be harbingers of joy and
Mhm.
of life.
Yes.
And one thing that even they teach you in a lot of churches is that you can't shake off the purpose that God has put on
Oh
you.
my.
And if
Yeah.
our purpose is to be beings of life, love, and joy, then that means that He has never created us to suffer.
Hallelujah.
And
Yes.
so and so that goes just as much for heaven and hell as much as it goes for gay and straight. It
Absolutely.
is not good that man should be alone. We have not been made to suffer, and we are meant to have fun and to
Yes.
live life and to show how life is amazing. And right now, in a world full of rigid convention and subjective rules that God never actually put in place, this is the
Hmm.
perfect time to once again shatter convention, break
Mhm.
rules, and have
Yes.
fun.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Tell our members or our viewers, what do you do to uphold love for yourself, love for others in the community, and love for what you do?
So the way that I uphold love for myself is by accepting and embracing every aspect of myself. I have now come to a place where even when I make mistakes, I say to myself, I embrace the fact that I made a mistake. I embrace the fact that I am not perfect and that I don't have to be, and that I now know how to do better for next time. The day that I realized that there are no morality police coming to get me just because I accidentally make a mistake one day, or that all of my friends aren't going to immediately leave me and like leave me destitute simply because I made a mistake, was the day that I found so much freedom. Because I feel like, especially when you're in the queer community, you're somehow trained to be hyper vigilant because everything you do is heavily scrutinized.
Mhm.
So embrace yourself, faults and all, and remember that you are doing fine. That is the way that I show up for myself. When it comes to my community, I utilize my platforms to try to amplify voices. Right now, I am doing a musical that is about the trans community essentially and protecting Black trans women. And I hope after that to do a show about immigrants and what it truly means to be a child of immigrants and such, and talk with and work with other voices in the community. And I want to continue doing even more than that. I also, read Broadway books to children just to expose them to the arts in that way. So the way I try to show up for my community is making my art mean something and work for people and to help them with different aspects of themselves that they probably never knew that they needed to hear. And yeah, and what was the last one?
Just upholding love for yourself and community and what you do.
And
Upholding
yes,
the love for what you do.
and so yeah, and the love for what I do really relates back to, like I said, making sure that what I do has a voice. Even if it's something where it's fun for the sake of fun, still in that day, I embrace that that's what it is. Sometimes as artists, people are like, yes, but what is your art saying? I'm like, this art is saying that I had a whole lot of paint and water balloons and flags and like Florence and the Machine music. So I created something to go along with it and we're just having fun. Like, and being able to embrace that aspect of yourself to just be like, sometimes what I do is literally just fun, because if joy is the point, then the point has
Yeah,
been made no matter what it looks like.
absolutely.
And so showing up for what I do, just being that person who's like, as long as I understand that my purpose is whatever it is, and that my purpose can be simple or complex, and that it doesn't make me any less of a person, any less of an artist, any less of a person who tries their best to be a student and an intellectual who seeks after knowledge. As long as I remember that all of this can all exist in the same space, then it
Yes.
helps make what I do much more enjoyable.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jacob. You have been wonderful to interview and to speak with. Tell us how people can follow you and how can they find you?
Yes. So the best way for you to follow me, there are two different ways, technically three. There is Facebook, where you can find me. I'm Jacob Eaddy, Jacob Eaddy. You can find me on Instagram as JJ Doomsday, JayDoomsday. And then there's also my professional page for my business, which right now is labeled Crosswalks Orlando. So exactly what it sounds like, CrossWalks Orlando, Orlando. That's also on Instagram. Those are the best ways to find me, follow me, and figure out what we're doing next, because especially with this particular production I'm creating called Crosswalks, and the fact that I have now started my entertainment company, you will be hearing a lot more from us.
That is fantastic. Congratulations to you and kudos. And if there's anything that we can do to help you get out there, expose all of that great stuff, please reach out. I'd love to have you back at another time when we start talking to our entrepreneurs and things like that, so that
Yes.
this is a platform for us to just be out there and be who we are authentically. And I thank you so much for joining me today. It has been such a pleasure, like it's always been when I have conversations with you. Always have enjoyed that. And thanks for
Yes.
being a part of Affirming Love Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that will conclude our episode for today. Thank you so much for attending and tuning in. Please make sure that you reach out to Jacob Eaddy in whichever way that you can and want to. If you are in Orlando, we have this great artist out here that is doing a great work. Make sure that you reach out to him. And thanks again for tuning in. You guys have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everyone, that concludes our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Tune in with us weekly on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Remember to follow, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you for tuning in to Affirming Love Podcast.